Independent National Electoral Commission says youths could play a significant role in deciding the direction of the 2023 polls, given their level of participation in the voters' registration exercise across the country. INEC says that out of the 15.7 million Nigerians that participated in the exercise, the youth population between the ages of 18 and 34 stood at 9.2 million. The INEC Commissioner and Chairman of Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, however, cautioned the youths that their efforts will come to nothing unless they do the right thing by making use of their permanent voters' cards to vote during elections, starting with the elections that we've had all through. Well, for more on this, let's bring in Dr. Louis Nwachi, who is joining us from Ireland. He's an expert in public participation and sustainable development. He's currently a lecturer in the Department of Planning and Environment, Technological University in Dublin. Thank you so much for joining us. Now let's talk about young people in the country and how they can ensure that they actually turn out on election day to exercise their voting franchise, not just voting, ensuring that they come out for voter registration. And how do we ensure that they are able to contain the excitement so that they are not overexcited and get into violent acts and lose out of what exactly they are aiming at, like it happened during the NSAS?
Hi, Sambo. Thanks for having me. I think it's a good question. I think the question we need to ask is, why is there sudden motivation by the youth to take part in the electoral process? When you look at our system, it's quite faulty and unsustainable, which has led to a lot of people being left behind and neglected, especially the youths. But looking at it contextually, when you look at post-independence, I think we adopted an unsustainable modernist approach of governance that give power to the few that make decisions for everyone. And I know we've been running democracy for the past 22 years, but we've not seen the dividends of democracy. What we've seen is that same approach being employed, having a top-down approach of governance, where those at the top are responsible for making decisions for the few, for many. Now, when you talk about democracy, sometimes you see politicians talking about it, and sometimes they don't even know what it is or don't even believe in it. When you talk about democracy, it's government for the people and by the people. The key word there is by the people. So what it means is that the people are the ones making decisions. And what we have is the reverse. And this system has resulted to lack of opportunity, lack of hope, social exclusion, political exclusion, economic exclusion in the society today. You see, you don't slap a child and tell the child not to cry. I think the youths have been crying, and also they've tried to make their voice heard. You could see the NSAS protests where they tried to make their voice heard. But the system, which is a little bit faulty, like I said, has silenced them. And now they know that the election is one of the tools they can use to say, okay, this is my voice. They want their voice to be heard. And that's why they are motivated by someone who is ready to listen to them or give them the voice, and someone who has a vision of ensuring that the youths are included in the governance process. I think I was listening to one of the interviews in the morning show. I think Dele, is it Farotimi, is a human rights activist who said that what the OB candidacy has done is that it has given the youths hope. I think most of the youths are, I would say most of them are hopeless. And what you start seeing is that they start having this hope that something is new is coming, that things can change. So and that is what.
Yeah, I mean, just cut in there, apart from Peter Obi, who you are making mention of, I've seen some people that we can, within the Nigerian parlance, among the presidential candidates, term as youths. If you look at the SDP candidate, Prince Adewale Adebayo, he's 50. And you look at Omoyele Sowore of the AAC, he's 51. And then you have Prince Malik Ado Ibrahim of the YPP, he's 58. And then, of course, you have Kola Abiola of the PRP. Well, he is 60. And then, of course, Peter Obi is 61. Yeah. So if the young people are tired of maybe those who are up there in terms of Atiku, Tinubu, and Kwankwaso and all of that, are this other set of presidential candidates, for example, credible alternatives that young people could take a look at and see if they could, sort of provoke a new system of governance by electing them?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think when I always advise youths, the first thing you want to look at is not whether someone is young or someone is old, but it's all about you need someone youthful that is credible and can able to, let's say, attend to the major issues. But the first thing I always tell them to look at is the policies. You need to look at policy options that ensures that the youth are included in the system itself. And when you look at the current government or the current, system we are having today, you could see that the system excludes people from participating in the governance and planning system. I know that, yes, voting is a right, and that is even the lowest level of participation. When you're looking at high-level participation, it's all about involvement in decision-making. And I always tell them, see, it's not just about the election. I think we need to move ahead of the election in ensuring that the youth are also involved in governance and planning. So, for example, you need to be involved in planning and development, not just at national level. You also talk about state and local level. The youth need to be involved in policy making. Now, we have the election season, and the youths are the bride. And I always say, see, it's not just about the candidates telling us what we want. We need to also talk about, okay, what are the policy options we want to look at? The youth need to say, okay, this is a particular policy we want as it relates to the economy. This is a particular policy we want as it relates to education, as it relates to health. So they need to be involved because they help shape and change the society.
Yeah, I mean,
because it puts a check,
based on
to government to ensure we have effective government.
Sorry, I have to just cut in there because you mentioned something very important. Based on your experience in Ireland there, how do you what will you advise Nigerian young people to be looking at when the campaigns begin on September 28th in terms of x-raying some of these candidates? What are the specific policies that you will urge Nigerian youths to look out for that could help determine where their votes will be going to?
Well, for me, when we're looking at policies, I think you need to look at a cohesive policy that addresses most of the issues that we're facing in the society today. Now, it's not just about a consultant sitting, writing up policy documents or manifestos. We're talking about those issues or even those manifestos. It's important that the candidates sit down with the public, sit down with the youths and engage with them and tell us what they have to do or what they intend to do. And not just that, ensure that the youths are also involved and say, okay, yes, this is what you want to do for us, but this is also what we want from you guys. And that's why I was trying to put across there, that it's not just about participating, but it's important we're involved in changing the society because we put a check to governance, ensure effective governance, collaboration and unity. And when you start participating, we help solve issues. Some of them are local, some of them are national, because when you involve people, you see that we can address the issues. You also have this sense of belonging, which is missing. There's no acceptance and sense of belonging by the youths. They feel neglected. You also talk about social inclusion. You say, yeah, I also consult for the Irish government, especially at local levels. And the first thing we do when we go for projects is that we first involve the public, those people in their various localities. And the first thing we'll ask them is, what are the major issues you're facing? We also ask them about their long-term goals. I don't even know the long-term goals of Nigeria. We don't have. Even if we have, it's not, we are not being informed. We also ask them about, okay, what are the short-term projects you want to be achieved? You see, you're sitting down with them addressing these issues. And what happens is that we come back with some of those things they've profiled to us, and we also negotiate. And at the end of the day, they're not just involved in plan making, they're also involved in the implementation. And what happens is that they start seeing the plan or the policies as their own, and they take control of the system. And that is what is missing in Nigerian system today, where a selected few are the ones making decisions. And that's why you see there's a lot of exclusion and the youths being motivated to make that change.
All right. As we try to round off this conversation, there's a law which is known as the Not Too Young to Run Act and all of that, which has opened up the space for young people to participate more in running for elections, whether for the position of president, House of Reps, Senate, and all of that. Do you think, based on your experience abroad, that more Nigerian youths are beginning to pick up that challenge, or you haven't seen this law being put to use and it's just ended, inside the statute books?
I think, Stambo, you know that most of the laws we're having today is just written, it's not been implemented, and it's a big problem. And that's why I said the system is faulty. You could see, I'm a youth, but I don't think I can afford 100 million naira to buy from. You're encouraging them. You see, when you look at most of our policies, yes, we could say, yeah, they are good policies. How is it implemented? And that's where, when you look at it, one element I always talk about good governance is the political will. Now, most of those in authority don't have the political will to address this situation. They're just there for themselves. But it's important that the youths say, okay, enough is enough. How can we have a system that is inclusive? Yes, I know that the system now is a little bit faulty, but I hope that by next election, coming up, that it's quite inclusive, that someone who is 35 years old or 40 years old can run for election without fear of, okay, I don't have the finance. And you could see now, most of the exploits, or you could see the youths now are taking control in terms of mobilization, in terms of bringing people out, talk about their PVC. You could see the 1 million march happening everywhere in the country.
Yeah,
so it's
but surprisingly,
part of the process,
yeah,
taking control of it, and not just depending on a structure that has failed us.
Yeah,
I just want to say that the existing structure has failed, and for us, it's important we build a new structure that is based on a bottom-up approach.
Okay.
That is driven by the public.
Well, I'm afraid, Dr. Louis Nwachi, I just have to cut you in here. You have made a very, very important point. But I'm surprised that, we haven't seen anyone be, between 35 and 40 that's reaping from this Not Too Young to Run Act. And it's just been there. We've seen young people wanting to bring people between 60 and 75 into power. Well, we hope the other presidential candidates will continue to make this an ongoing conversation. But we must thank you so much. Dr. Louis Nwachi is an expert in public participation and sustainable development. And of course, he's a lecturer at the Department of Planning and Environment at the Technological University in Dublin, Ireland. We must thank you for joining us, and we hope to have you next time. Well, that's how it's been for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, goodbye and thank you for watching. I'm Somo Sambo.